What's up, everybody? Welcome into yet another edition of the Baseline Jumper Podcast, Quarantine Edition, Part 2. I'm Jason Goldstein, and on the line with me right now, the business tycoon himself, Benjamin McDonald. Ben, making career advancements, riding bikes over the moon like E.T. You've had yourself a week, man.
Now, I have to say, I was inspired. Ryan Russillo said just a few weeks ago, he said, if you have been saying you're going to do something when you have time and you don't do it now, you are never going to do it. And it inspired me. Ladies and gentlemen, your newest bike rider, I, Benjamin McDonald, can now ride a normal bike, not like a motorbike or a Harley, but I can officially ride a bike without immediately face planting. So,
well, we're all proud of you, bud. I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus. I made a joke like you were flying a bicycle like in the movie E.T., the movie everybody's seen. But no, congratulations. Now that it's out in the open, feel free to edit this out. If not, you are the next Cycle King. We have a Tiger King docuseries on Netflix, and now we're going to have the Cycle King starring you, and that's how you're going to make your retirement money.
That's right. And Carol's sister, Laryl Baskin, she's the reason that it took so long. It's that damn Laryl Baskin, Jason. She got in my way. Just you wait until the documentary comes out.
Okay, listen, I know you are having a good week, but you just maybe want to send non-poisonous snakes to your mailbox. So, okay, let's get this straight, right? You had a great week at work. You learned how to ride a bike. And even though we don't have sports, or more specifically in our case, the NBA, but you had texted me that you were pretty excited about the weeks the Bulls had. So, we don't have too much news, obviously, but I'm going to give you the floor, and I want you to tell me what the Bulls did and tell me how you feel about it.
So there were a lot of moves in Chicago. I think the one that Bulls fans, and this kind of speaks to the psyche of the average Bulls fan, the most exciting move for many was the firing of Gar Forman, who was a longtime GM. He had proceeded John Paxson, who had been the GM and then kind of moved up in the organization. But essentially, the big move now is that they've also hired an assistant GM. But the big move for a lot of folks here is that Arturas Karnisovas, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, Arturas Karnisovas has been hired as basically the leader of the front office for the Bulls. And he is, for all intents and purposes, supposedly going to be having decision-making power. He came from the Nuggets front office. It's very exciting if you're a Bulls fan for a number of reasons. One is that the Bulls have historically been incredibly lacking in the scouting department, despite being one of the major markets in the country. And this move hopefully will modernize that. He's really come out and said right off the bat that he's hoping to expand it. He's known for being great internationally. And it's a perfect draft. It's a draft this year where it's hard to say who the number one guy is. A lot of people say Anthony Edwards, but it's not really decided. And it feels like one of those years, like maybe the 2000 draft or the year where Giannis came out, where you could have a guy who's coming in later in the game who can really come in and become the best player in this draft. We just don't know who that guy is. I don't think it would shock anyone if the 10th pick ends up being the best player in the draft. Very akin to when Giannis came out. So as a Bulls fan, and for Bulls fans everywhere, this is a very exciting day. And it comes with sort of the supposition that the Bulls are going to be getting a new head coach. And I have to say, my dream that Kenny Atkinson comes to the Bulls does not seem far off, given that what the new GM Arturas is saying he wants to do is get an up-tempo style. That's something that Kenny Atkinson did with the Nets, shooting threes, a more modern offense. I mean, he seems like a great fit to me for a team that's developing. And I feel great. It sounds like there'll be a new coach. There's a new GM, new president of basketball operations. I mean, for a franchise that has really been lost in the wilderness for the most part since Michael Jordan left, it's a great day to be a Bulls fan, Jason. And I'm very, very happy with the move, or the moves plural, I should say. And I'm very excited to see what the next thing that happens is and where this goes from here for the Bulls.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So for months on this podcast, right, you were saying Garpax needs to go.
Yep.
Boylan needs to go. So
Yep.
Foreman goes, Paxson stays, Boylan's likely out the door. from my standpoint, for you, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but are you okay with Paxton, excuse me, not the Yankee pitcher, staying on in a role that still gives him some decision-making power?
Jason Meatloaf Goldstein here. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah, I mean, I'll take 2 out of 3. I think that Paxton, we just don't know. We don't know who's been making all the decisions. It hasn't been all bad. And frankly, it's always hit or miss. I mean, if you look at the tenure of the Bulls of the since Michael Jordan retired, there's been some bad luck. Jay Williams is a good example of that. I mean, there's just been a lot of different stuff that's happened. So I'm not going to pin this all on him. And you know what? You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Paxton's been there. He knows how some of this stuff works. And I personally am somewhere in the moderate group that I want to see changes, but I just want to see improvement. I don't know that we need to start completely over from scratch. I just wanted to see a shakeup. Seeing Foreman go and seeing Boylan go is good enough for me. I feel great, and I love that they got someone who's got kind of the area of expertise right where they need it. They needed to have someone who had a scouting background. Ding, ding, ding. They needed someone who was a little better scouting internationally. Ding, ding, ding. I feel like this is a home run. This was consensus, one of the best guys out there. They struck early. They got him, and now they have a chance to handpick the GM and the coach. And the thing I love about it is, if you wanted to go get Atkinson, the last thing you wanted was to wait until everyone else can make their pitch. Now, if you get your GM, you can make your pitch for Atkinson or whoever you want first thing. You'll be the first one in line. So I actually think for a change, it felt like the Bulls were kind of smart here. They handled it well, and I feel like they're in a really good spot. I mean, honestly, it reminds me a little bit of when the Nets kind of turned everything over, and suddenly, you went from this team who, and you remember better than anyone, the Nets had this front office and this coaching staff that were always kind of like guys who were a lot of times retreads. They'd been there for a while or they'd gotten hired in. They weren't necessarily the best guys. I mean, even at like the Lawrence Franco, who's respected, this wasn't a guy who was going to, if he left, was going to get hired first thing. This Arturas Karnisovas, I mean, he was the top of the list for a lot of people, and it gives me faith that they're going to get a top-tier coach, a la what the Nets did after they get Sean Marks. What do? They pick one of the best candidates there who had an analytical background. They go out and get a good coach. And then where does that lead them? It leads them to getting guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and putting them back on the map. And I'd love to see the Bulls follow suit.
Well said, my friend. We just did something that's never been done before on Baseline Jumper. We started out the gate hot with Ben's Bulls Bliss. No blues around here, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to tell you what I'm a little bullish on. Nothing to do with the Bulls. Was this abomination of a horse tournament that was broadcast on Sunday. And I get like the 2K thing because video games are in. But the horse tournament, I feel like there was just something missing, like talented players for one. You had guys outside.
Hey, Zach LaVine was in there, Jason. You bite your tongue.
Well, Zach LaVine's one of the few known players that actually has like an indoor court getting shots up, so he's staying ready, right? But then you have like guys in a worldwide pandemic outside in like cold and wind and rain. Like,
shout out to Mika Catchings.
You want to talk about getting sick. Like with this pandemic that's going on, like it should have been if you have an indoor court in your house, like Shaq, somebody, like make it entertaining. Do like an indoor dunk contest, something. It just didn't work. Like if you were ESPN, right, and I get the players want to entertain the fans, you would have made everyone happy, including the players, if you would have just released The Last Dance 1 week early, did it on Easter Sunday, instead of making us wait till the 19th to watch it, and did away with this horse tournament. I mean, we were talking before the show, you mentioned Paul Pierce looked his age, okay? Chauncey Billups was competent. Mike Conley was the only smart one that shot indoors. And to me, it just didn't work. I mean,
did you feel like it was fair that, like, Mike Conley is in this, like, state-of-the-art gym, and I saw someone post that, like, if you were wondering what Mike Conley did with his, like, $152 million, just look at the basketball court he's installed in his house, which I thought was great. And it's true. I mean, that thing is literally larger than our entire house. Easily. It's bigger than where we live.
Might be the richest player in NBA history to have never made an all-star team. But nonetheless, look, Your boy Levine showed out, okay? Trae Young was a little disappointing. I just didn't like it. I get, like, look, they're trying. Everyone's bored, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're sitting here tonight creating content. But that just wasn't fun, okay? I watched it because it was my job to bring this podcast to you and everyone listening out there. It's just, I don't know.
It's quick hitters. I mean, this is the thing. You're better off watching the highlights of this than you are watching the actual thing. That's the bottom line. You can watch the highlights of this horse thing in about 10 minutes and it's fine. If you watched the whole thing, bless your heart. Like that was probably not the best use of your time. And it's the same. I mean, I actually think the 2K thing was worse. I tried to watch parts of it and it was so brutal. There were just stretches of no one talking. There was no one talking. Every game seemed to be a blowout. Like every time I tuned in, someone was up like 20 points. The only entertaining part for me was hearing Pat Beverly shriek and yell at other people, which was entertaining, but I'm not sure I would tune in just to watch that. I mean, but let's say we power rank those two. Which one did you prefer? Did you prefer the 2K or did you prefer the horse thing?
I think 2K. Look, you know what? Like, I've been trying to keep a level head throughout this pandemic. Like, I recovered from the virus. Like, my mother has the virus. She's recovering, thank God. But, like doing something outside like that is just going against what everyone's preaching, social distancing. So if there was, like, the summer and the off season, I'd say, you know what, a horse tournament's cool. You can go to a park, wherever. Given the state of things, I'm picking 2K. Because you have millions of fans around the world that play 2K. I'm more of an NBA Live guy because I can't figure out how to dunk in 2K. But maybe something like DeAndre Ayton or Devin Booker can teach me. But it just wasn't the right time for a horse tournament. It's like, what if a player got sick? Like someone on the camera crew at ESPN that was filming this got sick or something like that. Like, then you're delaying the start of basketball resuming even further as we kind of segue into the latest updates, I guess. But
I mean, I don't want to pick on Tamika Catchings, but I'm pretty sure ESPN was not filming that from the video quality of that one or Trae Young. Like those ones that I'm pretty sure like a small child was filming that because it was not the greatest video quality nor particularly the steadiest camera.
Well, then you have to hope that ESPN did not have a camera crew anywhere.
I don't think they did. But, I do want to say for the 2K tournament, I did find it really interesting that the bottom feeding Phoenix Suns end up – I mean, we had an all-Western Conference, all-Pacific Division final with the Suns out there. We have 2 Suns, 2 Clippers, and it ends up being 2 Suns in the finals. I mean – what did you make of that? I mean, maybe this is why they're struggling so much in the desert there, Jason. Maybe they're playing too much 2K and not shooting around enough in the gym. What did you make of the kind of the results of that 2K tournament?
I mean, it's just 2 young kids that are really good at 2K. I mean, what do you think these guys do on planes in their off time, day of games? Like, these guys ball out, and it's kind of like honing their craft in a way because, they're living and breathing basketball and they could take some – of the mental notes, because 2K is close to the real things you can get in a video game, player tendencies, things like that.
True.
Players are playing 2K all the time. I was disappointed in KD's performance, though, but other than that.
I was disappointed that the players didn't play with their own teams. Like, I mean, my thing is always like the first game of 2K, if I play against someone, I'm playing with the Bulls. If I'm playing a Madden game, the first game, I'm going my team. I'm playing with my team, and then we move on. I was sort of shocked at the disloyalty of all the players. There were a lot of Clippers, a lot of Lakers, a lot of Bucks in there. Yeah. I mean, come on. DeAndre Ayton, play with your team, man.
I've been playing a lot of Madden 2013 because that's the only video game I have, and that's just how long it's been. I also have 2K12, but I suck at it. And you think I'm going to play with the Jets in that game? I love the Jets.
Heck
I don't
yeah.
want to play with Mark Sanchez and Stephen Hill and Dustin Keller. No, I'm going to play with the 49ers and the Vikings who had Adrian Peterson in his prime, and I'm going to ball out. I'm not going to worry about who's picking their own team and who's not.
Hey, don't sleep on Dustin Keller. He's got like a 92 speed rating in that game, Jason. He's a burner. He burns